Oh, mama. Oh, boy. Hey, it's Patrick Coyle, artist in progress, and I suck at getting constructive feedback. Now, there's a right way and definitely a wrong way to approach professionals about feedback on your work. Today, we're going to demonstrate the wrong way to do it with my friend and returning guest, writer, artist, editor, producer extraordinaire, Shannon Denton. Let's get to it. Today we've got a returning guest, my friend, longtime collaborator and business partner and friend, Shannon Denton. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. Shannon has been gracious enough to go along with my nonsense in the past. And what we're going to do today is demonstrate the wrong way to take feedback from a professional or a teacher about your work. You and I, for those of you who haven't seen our other interview, Shannon, you and I have manned many a Comic-Con booth together, and invariably people come up and ask for feedback. Yeah. And I've noticed over the years that you've been really good at doling it out in a very constructive, friendly manner. To that end, I'd like to kind of role play a little bit today, where I'm going to be the kid, not the kid, the newcomer, let's call it the newcomer, coming up to you at a virtual convention table and asking you to take a look at my portfolio.
All right.
And I'm going to demonstrate how not to do this. Now, you and I have both seen people similar to what I'm going to portray, but I want to demonstrate that for people.
All right.
And then you will do your best to give me constructive feedback, and we'll show people how you should and should not take that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. We did not rehearse, I'll say. So if at any point I bust up laughing that my friend of, several decades is suddenly acting, I will try and keep in character also myself.
Yes, very good. Okay, that's a good point. And I'm glad that you pointed out that we have not rehearsed this, because I don't want people to think I'd like this to be a little spontaneous.
All right.
All right, cool. So here we go. Hey, will you look at my work?
Sure, yeah. And then backing up, now I'm giving a little to the audience here.
Yeah.
That is not here actually. So if we're at a Comic-Con, I think a lot of times, the situation and the way you give advice is a lot of times dependent on whether there is a 300-person line behind this individual right now or nobody there. And so, all of that weighs in, and you need to also weigh that in if you're the person standing right behind this person or you are this person, and be cognizant of the time constraints you're putting on an individual that you're asking for advice, because if they're also at that booth, they're trying to sell their wares while also be, respectful to the person they once were standing in that same line.
Right. That's a good point. Okay. So now I'm going back into character.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, would you take a look at my work?
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to.
Okay. I never heard of you. What have you worked on?
Yeah, that happens. Yeah. So I've worked at Marvel. I've worked at DC Comics. I've worked in comics and animation. So.
Okay. DC. Yeah. Jim Lee.
I do know Jim.
Yeah. Is he a tool? Yeah. I heard he's a tool.
No, Jim is not a tool. No, he's a charming individual and highly talented. Great boss.
All right. I like his old stuff. I don't know.
Well, everybody has opinions. That's
okay. So here's my book.
These are all very accurate to actual conversations in the past. Yeah. Okay. So you brought up Jim Lee, and we're here at a comic convention. Are comics what you want to do? Is that what you're pursuing?
Yeah. I want to do comics. Mostly cover work, because that's one of the most fun, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like Star Wars too. So like Star Wars comics, I think would be the best. But yeah, that's probably what I want.
Points already for this is Yoda. I can see that, or old baby Yoda, as he's known these days.
Yeah.
So that's it's recognizable.
Yeah, I think this one came out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that I could offer, going back up a little bit, is cover work. A lot of times cover artists tend to be interior people also, who are have an established reputation with studios. So developing a little storytelling might be worthwhile pursuing, and then also the format of this cover. it's out of the normal ratios for a comic book cover, so it may be easier for an editor when presenting it.
Oh yeah. No, I totally know that, but I would, I'd reformat this. I
Okay.
would make it taller for sure.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
There's this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's some Baby Yoda there. Pretty much same notes. Okay, yeah, then same notes from before. That definitely recognizable that you've nailed the character, but maybe work on the ratio. Neither of these images have had a background, so if you're showing your work for the first time, you may want to establish at some point in your portfolio that you know how to do it. You just chose these other images artistically to not show the background, but as an editor, myself, I would want to know that you could do it if the cover called for it.
Okay. I mean, I really like going for like a pattern or like a feeling,
Yeah.
And plus backgrounds are hard, man.
They are very hard. But part of the job is, drawing whatever is tasked to you.
Okay.
All right. This is, we're getting a little more full body here with this character.
I kind of ran out of time on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to go back and finish it, but I think it's all right.
Well, I think, as a starting point, you're it's good you're aware of that. I think that, I would maybe before bringing it to the convention and showing it around to actual people that are in the hiring position, try and make sure that everything in the portfolio is a finished piece and not a partial piece or a sketch.
Okay.
It's different when you're showing it to a fellow artist. Get all the feel free to show them and be cognizant of how much time they've got to go over the portfolio with you. But for the editors, they're specifically looking who to hire, so they're going to want to see stuff that's as close to what their final product is going to be.
Okay. All right. I guess.
Ben Grimm trench coat, fun stuff. The rain was a nice touch. There's another Ben Grimm. Once again, recognize the character. Start. Like that you're showing color and black and white if that's what you're wanting to do. But just still again maybe work on some background so we establish where they are. Another thing too is a lot of times on our covers we if you look at other covers that are out there, there's characters interacting. They're telling a story, and so far all the characters have. It's been a single character, a single image each time. So vary up your portfolio so that you can show that you could interact.
I'll skip ahead then.
Okay.
Because these are all kind of the same.
Okay. Yep.
There's that guy. I got him in there twice.
Yeah. Okay.
There's this guy and that guy.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of headshots. We're getting a lot of guys too. So I would say we've one woman for the portfolio. That was great, but we should probably vary that up as we add more characters.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Here's some sequential work.
Nice.
I did a few pieces on it's like a space thing, where this guy, his rocket crashes and then he's got to fight some bugs.
All right.
It's not quite finished. You can see working on some pencils here. But my dad said it's pretty good. So I wanted to show it around a little bit.
Keep that guy on the team. You always want to have somebody that's championing you to practice and to keep doing art. There's a lot of no's you run into in this business, so it's good to have people in your corner. Just fun stuff. These vertical panels are always hard to do. So at least you've got it all the way down on one side on the correct side of the page. So that's good.
Okay.
It lets you know you go here and then back up to the splash and then continue down. Those long gutter panels are difficult to pull off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Got some more sketches. These are definitely, I can tell that you've got your story figured out. You're working on some layout here. I would say just, if you're trying to get, if you're trying to get professional work, then you're going to need to, take the level up so that they can see like, all right, this is what this person does if they're not inking it. Cause they have, as publishers, they have access to, some of the best inkers on the planet. And if you're wanting to ink your own work, then you'll need to establish that and show them what
Okay.
your finished inks look like.
Okay. Yeah, these are just pencils. You know, I inked that one page, but I haven't gotten to it. I'm a little slow with the inks.
Okay. Well, yeah, inking is hard. That's why a lot of us as pencilers love to be teamed up with really good, really fast inkers. Inkers tend to work pretty quickly. So if you're finding that that's slowing down your process, then I would concentrate harder on the pencils.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
keep it in mind. How long did it take you to do each page?
Maybe a day.
Okay, it's good. Yeah, I mean, the general rule of thumb is it's a page a day.
Okay.
So if you can get to where you're doing the finished pencils in a day, then you're on the right path for the career.
Okay. Well, that's the end of my book.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to show it to me.
Yeah, thanks. So what do I do now?
Well, I would go around and show it to as many people as possible that are doing what you want to be doing. Try and get their advice. Listen to all this advice. And if everybody's pointing out the same kind of stuff, and that's what I would target first.
Okay. All right, I gotta go.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And that's it. No, I'm out of character.
That was fun.
Thanks.
Acting, everybody.
Yeah. Wait, they have Emmys for YouTube?
I think they do.
Sweet.
This is better. This is a category that has not been pursued, so let's follow up on that.
I'm working on it. This is my new character.
Yeah.
I'm
always up for an Emmy nomination, so just as
sweet.
A all right.
Sweet. You've actually worked on Emmy nominated shows before.
I have.
And did you win one for Jimmy Neutron?
Well, we no, because I only worked on the shorts for that, and then the feature. So we got nominated.
Oh, okay.
It was an Oscar nomination.
That's right.
That's what I got.
Okay. All right. Never
with
mind.
all the other people, but yeah.
Okay. So obviously
we got some good Emmy stuff rolling in.
Oh, that's right. Nice.
Alan and Mindy. Yeah.
So we're playing this for laughs a little bit, but your feedback was pretty honest, and I think in line with what I've heard you give to folks at shows, right?
Yeah.
What would you say? Obviously, I was doing a character, and I was trying to demonstrate some things that people shouldn't do.
Remarkably on point at the beginning there.
Yeah. What did you notice that maybe we could point out to people who are seeking to ask for feedback?
I think when you start you should never throw fellow creatives, under the bus or offer, you're putting the person that you're talking to in a, I love Jim, and by your character bringing up Jim and you like his old stuff. Patrick is doing that because we've been in situations where people are saying that, not realizing the person is just eating a hamburger and taking a load off in our booth over there chuckling, listening to some knucklehead say all this kind of stuff. And it's a small industry. If you're going to come in and offer your opinions about how you don't like something, more than likely it's like you're walking into somebody's house and announcing you don't like one of their relatives uninvited. It doesn't go over very well. We all have opinions on art, and we all have criticisms of things, but they don't always have to be spoken, and they don't always have to be spoken to people you don't know. Right. So what you're really doing is you're insulting friends rather than seeming like more than where you're at in your career. It's just not a good place to be. You're always better off coming at it from a fan point of view versus a critic's point of view. If you want to be as creators, we're fans. We may be getting paid, but we're all fans of stuff. That's why we do this as a career. Critics are a whole different thing. Critics are people who are looking for the problems with things, and that's not what most creative people do. They look for the things they like about things. Right. So if you come at me and you're like, oh my gosh, I love Jim's stuff, and you're talking about, and maybe you're just talking about his old stuff, and you're like, that's your sweet spot. I'm going to then talk to you about the sweet stuff that I like from that period, and then talk about the new stuff. And it's going to endear me to you because I like that person and I like their work. Whereas this had the exact opposite reaction when this happens. I don't see you as, my gosh, they're so smart, I should hire them to have them, come in and, provide me all of this wisdom. You know, I think from in the fandom side of things, you have to kind of separate yourself out if you really want to be a pro, that there are things we do as pros that we are aware that didn't come out how we wanted to. We don't need to hear that, but because as pros, we were in the situation at the time to know the budget was less on that project. The time was half of what it should have been, and we barely got it done. And you know, we know all that, but we're not going to throw that out on the internet. That ends up turning into an excuse. We're professionals. We don't give excuses. We give results. We give you the product. You tell us what the deadline is, and we hit it. So, you know, it's important sometimes to know that you don't know how all of the soup is made.
That's right.
You know, when you're on the other side of the thing. So to say like the director really screwed that up. Do you know the director? Do you know that he screwed that up, or did the studio come in and have, you know, executive say and change the director's vision? Did the editor have a say and change things? Was it a genius screenplay, the best screenplay ever made, ever written, and the director is the one that changed it from the screenplay because they were fixing things? You don't unless you're in that situation and you know all that, there is no way to know who screwed it up. And more than likely, nobody screwed it up because everybody is a pro and everybody's trying to make a good product.
Right.
It's just that sometimes it didn't come together the way, you know, it was supposed to.
Yep.
Whether that was outside forces or inside forces.
Yeah, I also think I did that one line with like, I never heard of you, which is because I think it's never a good idea to tell someone you're asking them for feedback. You're already acknowledging that they're a professional. Don't be like, I never heard of you. What have you done? Like I've been in those situations where I have been asking, like you go through Artist Alley or you go through some of the small press areas and you're like, the work looks really cool. I haven't heard of this person. And you could spin that around rather than, it's perfectly okay to acknowledge I'm not familiar with your work, but spin it, I think, in a way that is like, hey, tell me more about your projects. Your stuff looks really cool. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
You can walk. I mean, the industry is so much bigger than it was even when you and I met. It is almost impossible to know everybody now. Whereas there was a period where it was a buttload of work, and I did the work where I'm like, I can actually know everybody at Marvel and DC, you know, and I'm going to try and meet them all.
Right.
But now when you add in Marvel and DC and every other publisher that's come around, you know, since then, plus everybody in animation, plus the fact that live action is dancing and intermingling in now with all of the comics, it's just almost an endless, infinite amount of people. So we're aware that you don't know who we all are. That going back to like what we talked about in the instructional part, there's a few people in each field that everybody knows, and then there's everybody else that's working.
That's right.
So, you know, it's okay. You can come up and be like, oh, I've never seen your work before, but I really like that image, or, oh, you know, that is my favorite movie. I didn't know you worked on it. Could you tell me about it? You know, and then it puts you in a situation of, once again, not trying to act like you know everything. You know, you're admitting it in a way that makes me want to have a relationship, at least for the 5 minutes that we're chatting.
Right.
Versus immediately being put on the defensive. But yeah, I think everybody that's a pro has been in that position where somebody will walk up and think it's a good idea to tell you they don't know who you are, and then you're like, how do I follow with this? All right. You could buy a book and then you can read it, and then you can tell me after that. You can tell your friends, you know who this guy is. Right.
And I think you made a really good piece of feedback when I was in character, which I told you that my dad said I'm really good, which is awesome. If you have someone in your life that's encouraging you, not everybody does, right? Some people are like, oh, you're never going to make a living at that. Don't bother with that. If you've got a family member, a family friend, a brother, a sister, just a friend in general who's encouraging you, that's great. But as you and I have talked about before, don't make that your only source of feedback, right?
Yeah.
They may not be a professional. They may not be an artist. They may not be whatever you want to be.
Enjoy the bubble if you've got one, but be aware that you need to step out of it to grow.
Right.
But you know, some people don't have a bubble. Some people don't have that support. So it is important. There are going to be days where you're going to want to quit. Even when you're a pro, there's going to be, you know, frustrations, and it's good to be reminded, you know, like, hey, you're good at this. That's why Disney hires you. That's why Marvel hires you. You know, that's why you know, keep going.
Yeah. In fact, I use my kids for that. Like my kids are like, Daddy, you're really good at drawing. And it'll be on a day where like, I suck. It's like, oh, well, thanks. And I know obviously she's not an editor at Marvel, or is she? And I don't think they have any 11-year-old artists at Marvel. Or,
I think they stopped doing that in the 50s. They used to.
That's too bad. They work cheap.
Yeah.
But it gives you just a little bit of boost. Like it could be your kids, it could be your spouse, it could be it could just be people on Instagram that you don't even know who are just like, I really like this bit, and even just giving you the thumbs up or the heart or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever gets you to the next day.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. All right. Were there any other things that you think we should point out of things not to do, or things maybe to do when you're asking? Or
I think that you're just being aware that you are taking up somebody's time.
Mm-hmm.
And I always encourage people, if you're at a convention and that person is giving of their time that they normally charge people for their time, and you feel like, you're not always in this situation. I'm not saying you have to buy something from everybody. I mean, I physically can't buy from all of my friends at every convention as much as I would like to, but there is something to be said. I'm going to remember the person. If you're really getting to that point where you're pretty serious about your career, I'm going to remember the guy that bought the sketchbook or, bought the book, more than the guy that took up 2 hours and then took off. and I may remember them both, but I'll have a little fonder memory of the person that bought something. And I think that's human nature too. So that's something to keep in mind. Set aside if you're really serious about this, set aside a discretionary budget of, okay, so it's not going to Vegas.
Yep.
Know how much money you can lose going in, so you're not coming out of there being like, oh, I bought something from everybody and now I can't pay rent. You don't want that. But if you can buy a sketchbook here or there, it's the start of mutual, future conversations with that person.
That's right. Yeah. There was like 2 or 3 years in a row in Artist Alley. Ronnie Del Carmen was there. He's just selling his own little. They were basically ash cans, more or less, and some little sketches, right? And then 10 years later, he's the head of story for Pixar. He was working at Pixar at that point, but he was way down the food chain at that point. And if I had known, like, I made a point of going to Artist Alley and talking to the indie folks. If I had known, like, I wish I had him look at my work. I went up to him every year and said hello, and I bought something from him, even if it was just like a $5 sketch or something, or a bookmark or whatever. I did that to him and to a lot of other guys. You never know who's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, if you just treat everybody like they should be treated anyway, with respect and dignity and empathy. And I think that's the empathy is the big thing, because when you become a supervisor, if you can remember what it was like to stand in those lines, you'll be able to give much better advice. And then as the person breaking in, if you have the empathy for the fact that this person is giving up their time and that they know what they're doing and that they're trying to help you by giving you advice, it won't seem as soul stabbing, because it always does when you hear that you need to work on something and when you really want to hear, like, please hire me right now. Right. But if you can kind of put yourself in their shoes, like they're gifting you something, and look at it, like that. I know that I've been in situations where the line is so big and I'm trying to go through stuff, and I can, if a person is a professional and they're looking through your portfolio and they go quickly through everything, they're at a level where they can go quickly through everything. It's not that each piece wasn't measured appropriately. It's that you weren't there yet for what, and they're hurrying up and giving you some advice. So, some people aren't very good at, communicating that that's what they're doing, and it does feel offensive. But sometimes it's just that you're not ready for prime time, and that they're hurrying up and getting to the good advice and giving you what they need so that they can get to all the other people in line. And it's not really an attack in any way on what you're doing. So, at that point, it's hard, because you kind of have to turn off your emotions and go, okay, now they're getting ready to talk to me and I need to listen to what they're saying, and not be upset that they're not looking at each of my sketches for 20 minutes.
Cool. I think that's a really good point. I think empathy should be a large part of all of our interactions, right? All right. Well, I think that's a really good place to wrap this up. Shannon, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
All right, bud. Talk soon.
Bye-bye. How'd you like my acting skills? Huh? That was a rhetorical question. Keep your opinions to yourself. But for real, did any of that sound familiar? Have you been on either side of that type of conversation? What are your experiences asking professionals for feedback? Good, bad, or otherwise? Do you have any tips of your own? Come on, suckers, I want to know. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up so other people like you can find it. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, click the old subscribe button down there and slap that bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a new video. And as always, remember this, you don't suck, you just think you do. And you're wrong. Keep creating, suckers, and I'll see you next time. Peace!